Hi, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Kibin Alleyne, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, Montefiore has just been awarded new grants to help optimize the learning at the Community Health Worker Institute and create clearer career pathways for local experts. The Associate Director for CHWI at Montefiore Health System tells us more later on. Then, since the eviction moratorium expired in January 2022, more than 39,000 households have faced eviction alone, many of whom are entitled to right to counsel. A CASA Leader sits with us in the studio to explain how they are trying to help keep New Yorkers housed. After that, Tokyo Bronx ACG is celebrating all things related to anime, comics, gaming, and cosplay. The founder and operator, along with the creative director of Tokyo Bronx ACG, tells us why it's important to have an organization like this right here in the Bronx. And finally, the United Musicians and Allied Workers aims to help protect musician rights against issues such as streaming royalties, record contracts, safer venue guidelines, and much more. An organizer for United Musicians and Allied Workers talks more about their fight to help support musicians everywhere. So stay tuned, all this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Kibin Alleyne and today is Tuesday, January 30th. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. In 2021, Montefiore Einstein launched a Community Health Worker Institute exploring the impact of social determinants of health on overall health outcomes. Social determinants refer to non-medical factors such as housing, social policies, racism, climate change, and more. Renee Whiskey-LaLanne, Associate Director of the Community Health Worker Institute, joins me to discuss how this program addresses these issues. Renee, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, the Community Health Worker Institute launched in 2021, as I mentioned, addressing the social determinants of health. Can you just explain what events inspired the effort to actually create this program?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that community health workers aren't really new to healthcare. They aren't new to the Bronx, and they aren't new to Montefiore. What we're really proud of is this institute was designed as a way to optimize how we're working with community health workers. How do we find the best ways to identify local talent, to train community health workers, to professionalize them in a way that allows for their career growth, but also how to effectively have them work with our community members and with other members of the clinical team.
Now, we've explored social determinants of health on the show before, and I'm so glad they were actually kind of exploring it a little bit further because it's so important. You kind of mentioned that this has always been something that healthcare professionals have looked at, but can you just talk about maybe when did society or, when did the larger frame of healthcare workers realize that this was a huge factor in health outcomes for many people?
Yeah, I think, what we know is that if you're taking a overall look at someone's health, we've known for a while that only 20% of someone's health outcomes are directly related to quality access to care. But that leaves 80% that really is a system or net of other factors that influence health, and we've known that for a long time. The interesting thing is that COVID really highlighted the conversation and pushed the mission forward in a way where information is flowing direct to community and back up. And so it's really just a new approach at really thinking about the whole person and how we can address people's needs from different aspects.
And I'm really glad that you brought up the fact that COVID kind of helped, kind of put this to the forefront, because I think that's when I started learning more about this. But with that being said, social determinants of health are still very understudied. What impact is this having on marginalized communities specifically?
Yeah, so there's a lot that we don't know, right? The landscape changes frequently, but one thing that we've learned at Montefiore Einstein through doing this work is data really informs a lot of our decisions. we don't make assumptions about what our community needs. We ask directly. And so when patients come in for care, we're asking them directly, are you worried about some of these issues like housing quality, like food access, and legal assistance, things like that. And once you know that information, what do you do with it? And so we're able to really take that information and apply it to how we train our staff, how we address social needs. We have a whole research team that allows us to inform the decisions. So we're learning lessons as we go and making changes to improve patient care overall.
Now, how are social determinants of health affecting how health professionals connect and care for their patients?
I love this question. I think it opens a deeper connection with patients and community, but also on clinical care teams, right? And so when you're working with doctors, nurses, social workers, and community health workers in a team, everybody has a different role to play, but everybody's role also enhances the other to the benefit of the patient, right? So if you go to see your doctor and your doctor asks you about your needs or challenges in these areas and asks you if you want help, they can focus on the things that you're there for clinically, like your hypertension, maybe your diabetes, and then say, you know what, there's another trusted member of my team who can help you get connected to more food, to more affordable housing options, to help you address the mold in your apartment. And it just allows us to work collaboratively, again, for the benefit of our patients.
And you know, the way you explained it just now, I feel like it just paints such a clear picture because doctors are already, they have so much on their plate when it comes to serving communities, especially marginalized communities. And so I can imagine that it can be difficult to help, you know, address the health aspects of what that patient is dealing with and then all the outside factors. So can you just explain a little bit, you know, why having these workers kind of assist doctors is so crucial?
Yeah, I think it's really crucial because, again, community health workers are really local experts, right? So we're looking for people who are a part of the community, who understand the unique challenges, who know what it's like to go down to CBO on, 161st Street or 178th Street and to navigate what they're going to face when they get there, right? What application do you actually need? What documents do you need to bring? We can't expect our doctors, our nurses, and everyone else on the care team to be able to think about your medication and also think about what you're going to face when you get to the community center or the agency that you need to get to. And so these local experts, embedding them on the team, really brings the community context to the conversation. And it just enhances what we do at every level, I think.
And how does the organization actually find these type of healthcare workers?
We partner, right? We partner with community-based organizations. Word of mouth is our best referrer, but also with healthcare entry-level programs. So there are a lot of community members who are looking for ways to be integrated into healthcare jobs and healthcare careers. And this is a great entry-level position. And so we work directly with those programs, with community-based organizations, and our community health workers also refer, right? They know who has the pulse on the community, who knows the resources, and can bring their lived experience to the table.
I think it also helps add with that trust because as we know in many marginalized communities there's often distrust when it comes to just healthcare and people are sometimes afraid. So I think that having this like people from the community helps build that trust and kind of helps people take that step forward to learn a little bit more. Now, the New York State Department of Health awarded Montefiore with a grant to help address basically this overall issue. Can you just talk a little bit more about that achievement? Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. We're very grateful for this funding opportunity. The state has given us $2 million to enhance how we train and support our community health workers. What that looks like for us is nationally we know that most community health worker programs, the community health workers get roughly about 80 hours of educational instruction and perhaps maybe 80 hours of on-the-job training. What we've been doing over the last year or two is really enhancing how we do that and how much training and professional development we can provide. And so through this funding, we're actually just kind of trying to optimize how we do that. So we're looking at upwards of 160 hours of educational instruction, but also this on-the-job 2,000 hours of supervised time for patient engagement. What that allows us to do is really marry what are the skills you need to be successful at your job, but also what are the foundational things you need to know about public health, delivering healthcare, engaging with patients, and of course, professional development, right? We're looking at this as this is an entry point into health careers, but this is not your end goal, right? You want to be a community health worker, but there are places to go after that. Your career can grow. You can become the next social worker with all these tools and skills that you've developed from our training program. So this is going to allow us to do that for at least another 16 community health workers.
Now, I really wanted to highlight that because not only is it, helping community members with their overall health and social determinants of health, but it is providing, access to career mobility.
Yeah.
He talked about just the importance of kind of having both of those things.
Absolutely.
In so many communities where we do see a lot of I guess a lot of the people in these communities are marginalized and they are facing a lot of these health issues. But when it comes to career mobility and advancement in careers, there's also a struggle there as well. So can you talk about the importance of having both of these things available?
Yeah, training is one aspect of a job. Everyone should be trained to do their job and do their job well. But it's this coaching and mentorship model that we're developing that allows us to really identify where do our community health workers see themselves? Where do they want to go? How do they want to grow? And it's our job to invest in them in that way. And I think at Montefiore Einstein, we're really invested in investing in our workforce. It doesn't help us to keep someone who's really great as a community health worker for forever, right? They can be the next great nurse, they can be the next great doctor, they can be the next great social worker. And so it's our job to make sure that we're helping to guide and mentor them on that path. And through this training program, we'll be able to do that.
Now, as you mentioned, I think this is a great entry point to, having a legitimate career in healthcare. What are maybe some qualities or some things that a healthcare, worker in this program should have?
Yeah, we want you to be someone who's personable, someone who's eager to learn, who's flexible, who knows how to work with people really well. A lot of this, you hear a lot of challenging stories all day. And you have to be able to, one, be empathetic, but also to be a partner with a community member or a patient in trying to find a solution to whatever challenge they're facing at the time. We want to respect people's resilience. We know the Bronx is extremely resilient, and our patients and our staff, they bring expertise to the table. They can tell us, hey, we went down to this office to do this application. The process has changed. And so we take that information and we go back and we figure out how do we improve getting people connected to the service. And I think we do that on an ongoing basis. And we just need people on our team who are willing to be flexible in that way and to partner with communities in that way.
And what is the application process like, or just, the entire process of actually becoming a part of this community?
Sure. So our community health worker positions are posted on the Montefiore Einstein career website, like all of our other positions. You can apply. It's a competitive application. You're scheduled for an interview, and then we kind of spend that time getting to know you and what your expertise is and what lived experience you bring to the table. And then if you're offered the opportunity, you start training on day one. And we're very proud of that because we look at it as the day you get here, you should be learning what it's like to do this work.
Now, I think this is an amazing program. As I mentioned, it was out since 2021. So, I can only imagine how much more it will evolve and serve the community. And especially since, as I mentioned, in so many marginalized communities, we do have some issues with health. I think it's amazing that we have organizations like Montefiore kind of putting in this work. So I appreciate you taking the time to come speak with us and kind of educate the community about what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
To keep up with all the amazing work that Montefiore does, please go to their website at www.montefiore.org. Don't go away, we'll be back with more Open right after this.
Happy anniversary to BronxNet, 30 years. Wow, brings back so many memories. This exact studio that I'm in right now, I broadcast out of here. This must have been around 2003. I mean, time flies by so quickly. I started out here, it was either Mr. Gary Axelbank and Mr. Batch with Lady Moore Saab. We used to do a show here called In the Neighborhood. And I brought so many different guests on this show. To be able to bring your voice to the community is very powerful. To bring hip hop and spirituality, I brought my pastor in this same studio, Pastor Gino Jennings, and I'm sure you guys know who Pastor Gino Jennings is. That's rough. And some disciplined teaching. BronxNet is something that we need to uplift our communities, because this is a platform that we can come, and if you have a vision that's in your mind going into your heart, you can use it to do uplifting things for your community.
Welcome back. Community Action for Safe Apartments teamed up with organizations like the Right to Counsel Coalition to pass the statewide Right to Counsel bill, guaranteeing representation for all tenants in New York State. The effort garnered support from NYC Council members Purina Sanchez and Sean Abreu, who introduced resolutions 499 and 345. CASA Leader Mercedes Escoto joins me to discuss this effort. Mercedes, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, for those who are really aware, can you just tell us a little bit more about Community Action for Safe Apartments, also known as CASA?
Oh yes, CASA is an organization for the community. They offer support to those tenants who really are, going through a crisis of losing their apartments.
Okay, now can you give some details on the current housing crisis or the housing court crisis in New York City?
Well, crisis is the situation we're not able to control right at this time, because a lot of tenants are losing their apartment because of lack of repairs. They have become extremely stressed out because of the situation. The landlord have become aggressive and demanding money, and that situation has aggravated the health of the tenants, because the stress and their health, they have lost a lot of family members due to COVID. So it's a horrible crisis at this time that we as tenants are going through because of that. And in my opinion, the landlords, they should be communicating more with the tenants. Let's do the repairs, you pay your rent, and let's move forward.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit more about the issue with landlords, because I know that's a huge obstacle for many tenants in New York City. Can you just detail, what are some of these repairs that they're ignoring? What are some of the issues that you're facing with landlords specifically?
Well, in my case, no repairs whatsoever. When I moved in my apartment, after 3 years, I'm due for repairs. I'm calling the landlord to let him know I'm due for my repairs. When can you give me a date so I can stay home and we can take care of that situation? And 3 times or more than 3 times, he told me yes. He gave me the days. I took time off from work. No one came to do my repairs. And it was like I had to take from my money and do the repairs myself. So I'm paying rent increase, I'm paying the repairs, and I'm losing money.
Right, and I can imagine that's so challenging. Now, for a lot of tenants in New York, they're dealing with what you're talking about, but they're also dealing with the threat of eviction. Can you talk a little bit more about the threat of eviction many tenants in New York City are facing?
Oh, okay, that is because of the lack of repairs. Because see, if you get giving me a service, the service of the apartment, I need the apartment to be repaired. So why am I facing that? I'm not going to continue to pay you if you're not giving me the service that I'm paying you for. So that was one of the main things. So that's why it's that crisis that the tenants are in the verge of eviction, because the landlord take you to court. Once you are in court, you're lost. All you see is the attorney of the landlord. If you go without an attorney yourself, you're like a fish out of the water. You're going to die soon, because it's the system. We don't know nothing about the system, the legality of the system. So I was extremely lost when I went there. And I'm a social worker by profession. So I didn't know what to do. I signed the papers that the attorney had. So to go again through the same thing, the same issues, that there's nothing, appointments to get the apartments done. The judge will tell you, you have to fix Mrs. Escoto's apartment in a month. We're giving you a month. It's like when I went back in a month, apartment was not fixed, and I'm continue to pay my rent, and I'm continue to pay the increase of the rent, and I'm continue to pay the apartments, the repairs myself out of my pockets, and it's the same thing. It's a never-ending situation.
Now, can you talk a little bit more about when you're actually in the courtroom? Because you mentioned that, a lot of people don't really understand the legality of this. And I know that for so many people, this can be a challenge and it could dramatically change, the outcome of their life, especially in that time period. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience? And then also, what is CASA doing to help assist those people who are facing those challenges?
Yes, specifically my challenge when I went, CASA came to us because the landlord wanted to end the apartment, the stabilized rent apartment. He wanted to, just close that part of the program in his building, and we didn't know. He sent us, all of us, a package, and that's when CASA came, knocking on everybody's door. Like, I don't know how they knew what had happened, because the tenants were coming to my apartment asking me, Mercedes, what's up with this? They didn't know. And I'm like, I don't know either. This is in, like, legal language, and I don't know. I didn't know what was the disposition. I didn't know it was like, things like that. So when CASA came, they informed me. They told her, we need to help you form a tenant association. They took us by the hand, and I'm like, I was very impressed because I didn't know for sure my rights as a tenant. I didn't know nothing about that. And they took me by the hand. We organized a tenant association, and then after that we went on rent strike, and that did it. When we took him to court, we won. We won the J51 law that we kept that law that's saying that this is a stabilized apartment. We won that, and then after that we took him for the repairs, and we won. He settled for $400,000, but the repairs haven't been done yet.
Wow.
We're waiting for the repairs. So he's taking the money. I mean, because he gave you the money as credit, but he hasn't done the repairs yet.
Now, can you talk about the collaboration with the Right to Counsel Coalition?
Oh, that's important. That's very important, because without that, the coalition is the program that have us all together. Whenever we need something, we all get together, and the coalition will direct all of those other organizations that they're available to help us, where to go, what to do, and that's very important for us.
Now, what does it mean to have a right to counsel? Because I think for a lot of people who may not do this work, it may be a little bit confusing, or they may not know. So what does it mean to have the right to counsel?
Everything. Because, see, if you don't know about the law, you fish out of the water. The right to counsel is the attorney that the agency, the Bronx Legal Services, is the one that was available for me. And the attorney came, and it was such a relief because I was working. I didn't have the time. My union rep was with me. But I had to go with the union representative. But right to counsel, they told me, no, Ms. Escoto, you go to work, and we take care of it. I was like, oh my God, I felt so relieved. My health came back, it improved, because see, my attorney was the one representing me in court while I was working. So that was such a relief, and then they did everything. They used to tell me, we did this. Right after they went to court, they used to call me, Mrs. Escoto, we did this, that, and the other. Are you okay with that? I'm saying, perfect, you know the expert. So I was very satisfied with that. And, I really think that everybody needs an attorney to go to. Even the criminals get an attorney. How come we are working people, we're not entitled to one? Isn't that something?
Right. Now, I want to talk about, I think this is so important, that you have council members that are in support of the movement. So council members Sean Abreu and Karina Sanchez announced the passage of 2 resolutions calling on New York State to address these issues. Can you explain Resolution 499?
Yeah, 499 is the process of us getting that attorney. I mean, the process that they do in everything. We need to get the state, free of eviction. We need to have an established program that pays those attorneys. We need to have a setup organized in a way that they can function, 100%, so they can help us. That's the 499.
And then what is Resolution 345?
That's the state our right to counsel.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that this is so important, and I'm so glad that you're here talking with us about this because I think there are so many people, as you mentioned, who are dealing with not only their personal health, but dealing with their livelihood and where they're going to live. And, this is so stressful, and there's so much education that goes along with it. How will the Right to Counsel change the landscape of the housing courts and support tenants across the city?
I mean, wonderful. It will do wonderful because see, you will not go through the stress of not knowing what to do, where to go, what to say. The right to counsel person is an attorney, and is a professional person that will know exactly what to do in that situation. And that's the more important thing that we all need.
And can you just talk a little bit more about CASA and the role that you have there? How do you specifically, kind of help your community in regard to this?
Oh, I became a leader after because I get too emotional, and when I know what happened and what I went through, I don't want to see other people going through the same situation because it's not pretty, it's ugly. So I just they have me as a leader, and I've been with them. They've been teaching me my rights. I know my rights as a tenant. I did an a tenant association in my building, which I'm one of the leaders because most of them are retired. The other people they work, they have 2 or 3 jobs. They cannot, but I'm there for them wherever anything that happens. When it comes to CASA, or we need some other members to help us. I call them, I contact them, and everybody's very helpful. And CASA also taught me how to organize, because I was organizing. I didn't have no sense of how to organize any people like that. And we have to go door to door asking people, what, this is what's going on. And people now are very happy that we won the settlement because now they have a credit a year or two, not having to pay the rent.
Right.
So they're very happy.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and really educating our community about this and kind of talking about the importance of basically knowing your rights. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
If you or someone you know are facing eviction and need help or guidance in the process, please go to their website at www.casapower.org. Stay tuned. We have more open for you right after this.
Only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. %5% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. %34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit bronxnet.org to learn more.
Welcome back. Tokyo Bronx ACG celebrates everything related to anime, comics, gaming, and cosplay from Tokyo to the Bronx. They aim to create a multicultural community that encourages creativity, connection, and collaboration through the arts and entertainment. Founder and operator Rosa Vasquez and creative director Shawn Hill now join me to discuss. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
for having us. Appreciate
Now, what inspired the creation of Tokyo Bronx ACG? First, I want to say that I've never heard of something like this, so it sounds like really new and exciting. So, what inspired the creation of this?
So it starts, I have to go back in time. So it starts back in 2019. It feels like forever ago. So I had my ACG social mixers, and those were creating small, intimate, theme-based events in local areas throughout the city, in the tri-state area, because when I went to a friend of mine to Brooklyn Comic Con, which is a much bigger convention, one of the things they mentioned was that, oh, we don't have this in our local area, in the Bronx per se, and it'd be nice to have a starting point. So me, like, I like to collaborate with communities just from my background. It was one of those things that I told myself, okay, I love anime, comics, and games. Why not bring people together, get to know each other, not just fans, but also creatives as well. So it started with that, and I met Shawn through one of my social mixer events. We did 3 small social mixer events throughout the city. And then I collaborated with Ed Muzon. He's the founder of Tokyo Bronx. We decided to become mash together, fuse together, become an affiliate brand. So now we're known as Tokyo Bronx ACG, which we bring cross-cultural collaborations and social mixers, sponsorship, promotions, about all those things.
That's amazing. And can you talk a little bit more about how you got involved and, what actually sparked your interest in this?
Yeah, I just showed up. That's all I did. I didn't really do much. Well, I saw where it was going, and it was very interesting to me as well. I've been a fan of anime, and I do art, illustration, stuff like that. So as a creative, I just love the vision of where it was going, especially just the expansion. And if you look at it, if you pay attention to Japanese culture, they're influenced by us, and we're so influenced by them as well. Mm-hmm. So that back and forth, playing around, I just felt like it was the right direction to go into.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you collaborate with local fans in a way that builds community?
Well, we try to do events and also inform the community of what's going on around them. It's very interesting how a lot of people don't know what's going on. Like there's a big sign saying something going on, and they're like, well, I didn't know that was there. So we just try to inform them as much as possible. And also we try to go and see what they're doing as well. So during the pandemic, when we started in 2019, and then the pandemic hit, we kind of had to figure it out from there. We kind of did interviews with people building up these kind of things in the community. Mm-hmm. We attend events. We did Comic-Con. We did different community events besides that. And then we kind of, during that duration of time, we explored outside. We went to Jersey, Philly, different places. So we're just trying to see where, and you'll be surprised how many people from the Bronx are in these locations as well. So some people are like, oh my God, you're here in Philly, I'm from the Bronx. And that's how we do it. Just bring back that feeling of community and sense of people. Mm-hmm.
Now, what I think is so interesting and so important is that we see a lot of organizations and clubs kind of like celebrate anime, comics, but whenever there's things that involve culture, sometimes people can do it, maybe not knowingly, but they don't necessarily celebrate the culture, and they'll probably just take, from it. But I understand that your organization, kind of makes it a point to celebrate the culture. Can you talk a little bit more about why that was important to you and how you actually do that?
Yeah, we thought it was very important to know that, through our influences of our own culture from where we grew up, that does blend into a world culture. Sometimes we forget that we are a global society, we are global citizens, and we do influence each other one way or another. So understanding that, anime goes as far back as forever ago, but it still has those influences. And I think not just myself, but also Ed, the founder, and Shawn as well, we, from our experiences and our hobbies and likes of it, and also our creativity, we realized that we could mix that with our own stories, our own cultures as well, and what different things we bring from growing up in the Bronx, from our own heritage, and how we mix that into our love for Japanese culture.
Yeah, there you go. And and also I think a lot of people are unaware that the Japanese culture kind of loves what the Bronx and New York City has to bring. So you'll see them do a lot of b-boy hip-hop stuff. They'll come and take that influence and take it back to Japan. There's so many subcultures of what we do here that is over there as well. And we just try to, find that common ground and build upon that as well. And then not only that, I'm not sure if you're familiar, the Bronx also has talent that goes over there and creates as well. I believe the artist is called LeSean Thompson. And he's from the South Bronx, and he helped create a couple of anime recently, Cannon Busters and Yusuke, that just recently came out on Netflix. So you'll be surprised how much like influence is there as well too, and comes around.
And you know what I really love
Yeah.
about this is that I think that oftentimes people just have this conception about the Bronx that you know maybe we only like one type of thing. You know, I think this really kind of shows that like the Bronx is multifaceted and that people you know love and kind of honor so many different areas of the world right here in the Bronx. Now, with that being said, like I want to kind of touch on the fact that your organization was also recognized by the Japan Society and the Japan Consulate of New York, which is pretty amazing because I think that only further proves that like you know these communities appreciate what you're doing. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, I think it was a great opportunity, you know, and it's also one of those things that if you take the risk and you put yourself out there, you know, to do some good things, you know, the universe will bring it back to you. That's my belief. And being able to recognize and see that, oh, there was a Japan parade happening. Now it's 3 years, you know, and, you know, 3 years ago, I saw this was something that started small and they wanted to recognize Japanese culture in New York City. So I was like, oh, this is interesting because we're doing Japanese urban culture in the Bronx. So pitching it to them, you know, they were really interested in our opportunity, you know, gave us the opportunity to do something like that. And just being able to participate in this parade has been amazing. You know, the organizers for the Japan Day Parade, the Japan Society organizers have been, you know, given us many blessings to let people know like what we do.
Yeah, it's been great cardio, you know, just walking up on the parade, just going to see what's going on. And also it opens up our horizons. Last year we were behind the Genshin, right?
Yes.
We had a geisha, not Genshin.
The
My bad.
geisha.
Genshin is a geisha, there we go. Genshin is a different thing.
That's what happens when you merge anime comic games together.
That happens. We were behind the geisha, so we just like didn't know the tradition behind that. But it's a beautiful experience. And then also just the music, the community culture, the representatives. It was a really great experience.
Yeah, and they bring a lot of other people we met as well. Like Richard was a part of that as well. So, you know, be able, you know, many other artists and creatives were part of this opportunity. So it was great to see that.
Yeah. And we see was in there too, right?
Yes.
Now, what I think is really cool is that whenever we talk about, you know, comics, anime, luckily we're in a time where we kind of associate it with like adulthood or maybe, you know, being a teenager. But there is something for young fans out there that you offer after school programs. Can you talk a little bit more about those after school programs and how you kind of include the youth in our community in these like really cool, amazing opportunities?
Yeah, sure. So we have a after-school program called the Creation Station. It's been going on a couple of years. It's mainly been a component of Comic-Con, but now we're kind of bringing it to community over in the South Bronx. So what it is basically teaching young people how to create their own characters, you know, come up with their own, you know, world, develop it. And it only starts with a character, you know, one simple like that. But yeah, we just want people to come and check it out, explore, be able to express themselves, and also, you know, again, see somebody that looks like them and create that as well. You know, that helps more with that culture and also bring their influences into it. Because not only, you know, the Japanese culture is involved, or, you know, some kids like to draw the anime style or the American comic book style, all is welcome there. So you just come and you explore and enjoy yourself. That's the whole thing, especially for young folks.
And why is it just so important that we have organizations and opportunities like this in the Bronx?
I think it's very important to highlight, spotlight, like, you know, we talked about the subcultures that Japan brings the influence over there. I think it's important to know that we have those same influences over here as well, and that we're very diverse. And, you know, like you said, like sometimes some people put us in a box or gatekeep and stuff, but I feel if people come to realize that there are so many creative opportunities, and even creation starts here as well. You know, it's to know that we are blending that in with Japanese culture. I think it's such a great impact.
Yeah, I mean, like last year was the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and you know that's a big deal, which is a global, expansive genre, right? Everybody has their own version of hip hop in every country, especially Japan, and you know we've been influenced by that as well. You know, I think one of the biggest hip hop producers was Najibis. Yeah. So we are influenced by that as well, and you know that helps a lot.
Now, what are TBX Saturdays?
So TBX Saturdays is a spin of my Social Mixer series I created a few years ago. So it's just about bringing those back, just give it a nice catchy name, TBX Saturdays, because TBX is short for Tokyo Bronx. And we're doing daytime events and workshops and nighttime events and workshops. So the daytime events are run by Mr. Shawn Hill here. He's going to be doing anime and comic workshops for those who are interested in learning how to draw, and more than that, after you can explain more about the daytime workshops.
So my workshops is just for people who want to get back into art.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you, what is it? You forget how to draw. You already know to draw. You just forget, and maybe you want to improve your skills. And also understanding your value as an artist. I realize a lot of young folks today don't understand that as well. They think like, I just create and somebody pays me, but understanding the value and how to sell yourself and present yourself is a totally different art as well. So maybe that's something I want to do as well in the workshop and help people get there and find that for themselves as well.
And then the nighttime events are, again, it's the social mix-up aspect of it. But we like to do theme-based events. So a lot of our different nighttime events have different themes to them. Like we have what's called the ACG Lounge. So that is in collaboration with the Bronx Gaming Network and Kage Creative Agency. So we just have people come and chill, relax, play video games, sing some karaoke, get to meet each other, whether they're fans or creatives. It's building that community in the local area. And others we have coming down the line is tabletop gaming, card game nights. We also have anime film watch. It's a lot of different things we have going on.
Do anime murder mystery night?
Oh yes, we're gonna do. I want to do an anime murder mystery night, and we're gonna do
a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, we like to dabble in people's interests because it brings people together, and if people hear a social mixer alone, it's sometimes people get a little nervous about it,
Right.
but if we bring it interests and spin it.
The whole thing is just to get people to share their interests. Sometimes people have their little what was the term again? Their little secret habit they like to do again. So we just want to bring it to we don't want you to share it with everybody, but we'll accept it. We want you to come and bring it to us. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is amazing. I love to see this kind of stuff happening in the Bronx because I definitely think, we have this creativity here within us. And I just love to see this type of stuff out here in the Bronx. So I want to thank you both so much for joining us and kind of sharing your community with, with the world and with everybody watching. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We're excited. Yeah.
To learn more about the events that Tokyo Bronx ACG will be hosting, or to learn more about them in general, please follow them on social media at Tokyo Bronx ACG. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Kat from the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, also from The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray every week right here at BronxNet, Saturdays at 11 p.m. Wow, 30 years. 30 years of BronxNet public access television. I'm a girl from Brooklyn and came to the Bronx 25 years ago, started my journey on BronxNet on public access television in 2016, and BronxNet is where I got my start. BronxNet, I feel like, is a home away from home. They support all of my endeavors, and I wouldn't have been able to be on any of the other channels if it wasn't for the fundamentals that I learned right here at my start here at BronxNet. So I am so appreciative. My son says I should stop telling people I'm from Brooklyn because I've been here now, Bronx for 22 years. So I'm so grateful, and I wish you much success in 30 years, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30 more, because public access is necessary so that people like myself can have a voice. Yes, BronxNet, it's your girl Kat from Kitty Rose. Check me out every Saturday at 11 p.m. right here, Channel 68, The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray. Mwah.
Welcome back. United Musicians and Allied Workers formed in 2020 to address the issues many artists face in the music industry. Streaming royalties, record contracts, and artist payments are just a few of the several injustices facing these musicians. UMAW aims to organize music workers who fight for a more just music industry. Organizer and musician Neve DeFrancesco joined me to discuss this effort. Joey, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now, as I mentioned, you are a musician as well, so can you talk a little bit about your background as a musician?
Yeah, I've been a working, touring, recording musician for about 15 years, mostly with a band called Downtown Boys. It's like a punk band. We've done most of the things you'd think of as a band that can make some money. We've toured all over the place, put out records on good labels, but like most working musicians, still have never been able to make ends meet with music.
Now, I'm glad that you mentioned that because we're going to jump right into it. You know, what are some of the challenges facing many musicians and artists, especially the way that we consume music now?
Yeah, so music's always been a hard industry to make a living in. I think everyone knows that. Hard to make it to a level where you can live off of it or have sustained success. That's always been true. But in the digital music landscape in our current economy, it's gotten just increasingly harder every single year. So it's like every other industry we're seeing where it's the top 1% of the 1% that's taking all of the money. So in this case, the tech CEOs, the heads of these major record label, while the workers, the musicians themselves, are not seeing anything. And that inequality is getting worse and worse every year. The industry is making money, right? I think some people think maybe the music industry is simply failing. That's why it's hard for musicians right now. But it's not true, right? The music industry is posting higher profits every single year now, but all of that money is simply going to the top. And a big part of it is the digital music landscape, like you were getting at here. Services like Spotify, like Apple Music, they are squeezing the musicians who are actually making the music from every possible angle, like paying us less and less money, diverting all of that profit in the industry to the very top. So at this point, for working class, middle class artists, it's virtually impossible to really make a sustainable living in this industry.
Now, you talked about streaming. For those who aren't in the music industry, how do streams and royalties work, and what do artists actually gain from that?
Right, so the industry has made this very convoluted, very kind of difficult for most musicians to grasp how exactly we're getting paid through streaming services. Royalty structures, so royalties, right, is how musicians get paid from our music getting played in the United States, are very backwards, period. So we're amongst the only countries in the world where musicians, performers, have never gotten royalties from radio play. So when you hear a song on the radio, you might have thought in the past, oh, those artists playing that music are getting money from it. The songwriters are in some ways, but the musicians actually playing that music are not getting royalties from that. Virtually every other country in the world, the musicians do get paid, but in the US, this has always been this backwards thing. And that backwardsness has continued into now the streaming era, where the law has simply not caught up with how these companies operate, with how the internet operates. So when fans are on Spotify listening to their favorite artists, those artists are getting a small fraction of a penny for every time that you listen to them. And they're not even getting that penny directly. So how these streaming services work is all of the money that Spotify makes goes into a big pot, and you don't get paid out per stream or per listener. You get paid out as a percentage of the total streams happening on the service. So what that means is musicians are sort of competing with each other. So if you have a big billionaire major label star taking up all of the streams in the industry, smaller working artists are simply getting nothing from it. And then that little you're getting from it is getting filtered through a record label, it's getting filtered through these royalty agencies. So you could talk about this stuff for hours, but the main point is artists are getting virtually nothing at the end of this line here.
Now, can you talk about how the United Musicians and Allied Workers are using using their platform to discuss the issue with streaming and kind of doing what you're doing now, like trying to make it easier to understand? I think when I went on the website, I saw that like sometimes it's not even enough to buy a cup of coffee or breakfast. Like that's how little a lot of these artists are making. So can you just talk a little bit more about the organization and what they're doing to address this?
Yeah, so UMAW or UMAW started in 2020 with the intention of organizing music workers, musicians, anyone who works in the industry in a collective way, like a union, or in our case, kind of like a worker center model, to build power for musicians in this industry so we can take some of that money back that those tech CEOs and record labels are, we think, stealing from us. So like in any industry, right, workers, we're only going to get paid what we're worth if we organize and collectively demand it. And it's hard for musicians to do, right? Because we kind of think of ourselves as very like individualistic, kind of our own little businesses. But it needs to be done because that's the only way we actually make inroads into this industry to get paid what we're worth. So in the case of streaming, musicians have been complaining about this for a long time, right? Just on Twitter, individually saying, oh, Spotify is terrible, we're not getting paid enough. But our position was we need to get a mass of workers together to change how this functions. So we launched a campaign in the fall of 2020 called Justice at Spotify. And we had some 40,000 musicians signed on to an original demands letter demanding that royalties be transformed in these streaming services so that musicians directly are getting at least a penny per stream. That was kind of the fundamental demand here. And this made, news everywhere. We had in-person protests at Spotify offices all over the world, 10, 20, 15 offices, all on the same day. Out of this, we've worked with legislators, notably Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib's office, to create resolution, now working on legislation to change how royalties operate. So the big idea here is we don't have power as individual musicians, but like other workers, we can get together and transform how the industry works.
Now, I really want to highlight the fact that, as you mentioned, this isn't like a new thing. We've been seeing a lot of mainstream artists, which I think is crazy that even if mainstream artists are complaining or kind of voicing their concerns, then, I can only imagine what that is like for smaller and more independent artists. But that being said, what have musicians and just artists in general done to kind of make up for the lack of pay from streams?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You've seen people like Taylor Swift or Drake complaining about their royalty payments, and these people have enough money, but that even these superstars are feeling like in this tech-dominated music industry, they don't have enough power over their own music, right? That's wild. So you're absolutely right. You can think about how small a voice we have as working class artists or artists making music in non-pop genres, right? How hard it is as an individual to have a voice in this industry. As to what artists are doing to make up for the lack of streaming, there's not a lot of good answers. A lot of artists are simply leaving the industry. We've seen this happen, especially since COVID. A lot of artists simply can't afford to make music anymore. It's sad. You've seen the destruction of a lot of local arts communities because it's simply not sustainable. You see a lot of other artists having to tour, right, perform just constantly, like months and months out of the year to make ends meet. Ours, of course, don't have health care in this country because we don't have a single employer. So you see artists either dropping out of the industry or simply having to work so much harder than ever before to simply be able to continue to make music.
There's also a focus on treating artists fairly because it's not just streaming, it's also, when they're at music festivals, which this is very new to me because this is not something that I've heard of before. Can you talk about the challenges with that? And I understand that there is a specific campaign that's targeting that. Can you talk a little bit more about that effort?
Yeah, so UMAW works on a lot of issues. Streaming was one of the big campaigns, or continues to be one of the big campaigns. Also worked on things like, venues taking percentages of merch when we sell. We've worked on things like getting artists to, Palestine solidarity actions. And one of our other big campaigns was fair pay at South by Southwest. So that's a big music festival in Austin, Texas, that infamously pays artists next to nothing. Literally nothing in some cases. They offer artists either a badge to attend the festival or a $250 payment, which if you're traveling all the way to Austin, Texas from New York City, it's nothing, right? You're losing money inevitably. Meanwhile, this festival, if you go there, it's corporate everything. There's so much money flying around. They have the money to pay artists fairly. So same principle as the Just Spotify campaign. We're like, we can't just complain about this as our own individual people on Twitter. We need to organize. So we got thousands of artists sign on to demands for demanding South by Southwest increase payments at this festival to artists. We went down to the festival. We had like our own protest concert. We had a picket outside of their offices. We still haven't met all our demands, right? We're going back this year, but just after 1 year of doing this campaign, already got artists, thousands of artists, $100 raise, some better treatment at the festival. And as far as I know, this is the first time at a major music festival like this, artists have organized and won something. So I think that campaign shows us when we do get together, when we do organize to fight, we can win. The job's not nearly done yet, but it can be done.
Now, as somebody who, I think everybody thoroughly enjoys music, I can't think of a single person who's not into music. Learning about some of this stuff was really shocking because when you think about how much time we spend, I think at the end of Spotify it tells you how many minutes you listen to at the end of the year, and you think about how the artists are being treated, it's very jarring. What can people who love music, who are a big fan of these artists do to actually further support these musicians?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question. Going to artist concerts is a big way to directly support particularly artists in your community or local community where your ticket money, you going to support them means a lot. Buying artist merchandise helps a lot. And supporting these kinds of campaigns, right? We need a mass of people who are invested, seeing musicians as people who deserve to be paid and treated fairly, just like people working in any industry. So when we have campaigns like Just Spotify or the Fair Pay at South by Southwest or the streaming legislation we're working on right now, we need everybody, musicians and fans, all supporting this to create a fairer arts economy if we want art to keep going, right? We need to have a fairer structure. It can't just all be subsumed by the tech CEOs.
Right, and I also want to add that you mentioned going to concerts, and I know that with that, there's been a little bit of a rift between fans and some of these really large musicians that kind of charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Can you quickly just let us know, if you know, is that a direct cause because of what's going on with streaming?
In some ways, there's a bunch of factors. I think a lot of the risks were coming from the big companies like Ticketmaster, where they're charging, in some cases, double the price that the artist wants to charge in secret fees at the end of the ticket. I think many fans are okay with paying some base rate to see the artist, but when they go see, there's another $50, $100, $150 that's just going to this giant corporation that has a monopoly. I think a lot of people are upset about that. And UMAW has also been involved in the effort to break up Ticketmaster's monopoly and kind of put a lid on this practice. But you're right, in most cases, not the artist choosing. Almost never is the artist choosing to do that. It's because Ticketmaster owns everything.
Right. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation. For everyone watching, to learn more about the work that United Musicians and Allied Workers is doing, and to help support them, please go to their website at www.weareumaw.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.